Hello, welcome to Dads That Try. I've got a close friend here today with me, Shane, and it's been a hot day, been a little day for some yard work. It's time to crack open a cold one. What do you say, Shane?
I'm ahead of you, Mr. Miller. Let's get to it.
I'm excited. Let's get to it. Hi, my name is Jonathan. Being a man, father, and a husband in this world can be difficult. As I face my own insecurities, fear, and anxiety, I hope to connect to other fathers for open discussions from mental health, relationships, music, food, even technology. We like to talk it all. Pull up a chair and relax with us on Dads That Try. So Shane, when you look back on being a young man, when you were first getting married, people tend to give horrible advice to somebody getting ready to get married, I think, towards men most of the time, such as, hey, tell her she's always right. It's okay if you don't like her cooking. What do you think on giving advice like that that's not really that helpful?
I'm probably the worst person to ask that question because I remember being very close-minded and not listening to input from people around me. And then when I did get married the first time, it was clear that I absolutely listened to nobody. When I got married the second time, I learned from those lessons, and I thought, I need to be who I am, she needs to be who she is, and if that works, then we've got a future together.
That's great. So is there advice, is that what you would give somebody newly getting married?
Well, the advice I guess the advice I'd give is try to listen is the first thing. Listen to both people that know you real well, but also listen to the individual that you've got a relationship with and you're considering getting married to. And in listening, try to project or think in the future, is this something that I can accept of the individual? Is this a trait that's not going to wear on me after a while? Is this something that I find endearing? And is it being said and done with love to the point that it's meaningful to you despite not being perfect, but in your mind it's something that means a lot to you?
I love how you said about it being done through love. Not resentment, not anger, not spite, but love.
I said all that?
You did.
Okay.
You said early on you didn't really listen to anybody. Do you feel like men hide emotions?
Oh, a lot. I'm a firm believer that they do. I see it in my boys. They will not share their emotions freely with me, but when it comes to their mom, they'll share their emotions all day long. And they'll express them not only in their body language, facial expression, but in their words as well. And a lot of the times, what I get from the boys especially is just quiet, and they may or may not be listening, and then ultimately the conversation is over and I haven't heard a peep from either one of them. So I don't understand whether they digested it or didn't. But as of late, they're 13 and 16 now. As of late, with a lot of feedback from my wife, I've been trying harder to just be patient and be open-minded and really step away from who I was as a young man and shutting off all communication and just thinking that I've got the answers to everything, and being patient for my boys and waiting for them to ask or share or tell what's on their mind, and really looking for opportunities to work with them to elicit and get some of those responses.
I like it. I'm going to jump back to what you were saying previously about how you'll talk to them and you feel like maybe they heard you, maybe they didn't, maybe they're still digesting. It's really hard not to have that drill sergeant approach where you're just, I'm telling you what's going to happen, or I'm telling you my thought. That's what it is. And it's a mind shift to be able to put yourself in their shoes at that age and think, okay, where are they at?
And I can probably do that about 1% of the time. The other 99%, I've got the answer. Just listen to me. Save yourself a lot of grief. But given the career path that I chose to follow and what was most meaningful to me, it's really broken that paradigm and helped me to stop and think it's more important for them to figure out their path, more important for them to figure out what's right and wrong, but just for me to be there as a support mechanism and not as the person that's got the answers for everything.
By making those mistakes and suffering through the consequences. But it's painful as a parent to watch.
Some of it's painful. I've got to admit there's some humorous times as well. But as long as they're not getting hurt, and sure. I remember Tammy and I talking about this very early on in our marriage. As long as they don't get hurt or hurt somebody else, it's okay for them to walk through these experiences.
Absolutely.
As I reflect on my relationship with my wife and in talking about what it's like to be a dad especially for the boys, it's really, the conversations that we have are so deep, it makes me think on multiple levels. She may think that it's a very straightforward kind of conversation, but I'm not only looking at it from my standpoint and communicating with my wife, I'm thinking about the boys as well and what they look like in the future and communicating with their partner. And I would only hope that they do better than I do in their communication.
Shane, given how you've spoke about your relationship with your children and, watching them grow up and become who they are, it can be clear that I want to say that you've been a pretty prominent mentor in all of your children's life. Who's been a mentor to you, be it your career or even when you were going through school?
So my first mentor that comes to mind was very early on, around 13, 14 years old. And this gentleman was the teacher for our catechism class on Sundays. He was a family friend. He was somebody that worked closely with my parents, but his children also were around my age, and we shared some of the same activities, and we were close in school as well. And the reason that I considered him a mentor was he was teaching us something out of the kindness of his heart. It wasn't something that was gaining him a great deal of satisfaction or giving him some sort of edge or success, but it was truly just something that came out of the kindness of his heart. The second mentor that I had was a very close family friend as well, and he helped me with my college degree, helped me determine a path. He even challenged me to help foot the bill for college if I agreed to pay 10% of my future earnings, which, good thing I was in math, because otherwise I might have taken him up on that offer. He not only helped me with education, but he also helped me with really 2 or 3 of my first jobs, and then also helped me when I was going through my divorce. He is still alive, and I still consider him somebody to be a mentor, even though we don't communicate on a regular basis, or I don't see him on a regular basis. And that's just purely because of geography. I also consider my dad a mentor. He was somebody that I viewed as able to take on a challenge and get past adverse situations, adverse environments. And I didn't realize how important that was until I got older in life. And I understand the cycle of, when you're young, you depend on your parents, as well, especially with regards to your father. You sort of depend on them. Then you move into that stage where you're defiant. Then you move into a stage where you're completely away from them. And then you sort of reconnect when you get older.
Yeah.
I've never lost touch with my dad, but certainly had struggles as a kid, as a teenager, in trying to determine what my role was. But never lost understanding that he was there to provide for the family, to look out for our best interests. And again, no matter how many adversities he faced, he still managed to provide for us. And then I think within the past 5 years, I've had 2 other mentors, both of them with regards to my career in lean. And they shifted my entire paradigm about what it was like to help people, to develop individuals, and to learn and develop myself as well. and they will forever be lifelong friends and coaches and mentors. But like I said, there have been numerous people, different stages of my life, and each one of them has served a different purpose and filled a different void.
That's awesome. That's great. You've had different people at different time and different capacities, to really meet you where you were at that moment and help get you to the next phase.
And I've had friends during those times. That's not to say that I was alone, but these people really served a purpose and knew they were aware of what they were doing during that time.
Yeah.
And they were very careful in how they approached this responsibility that they had.
You talked about some of your career there. We've all had good days at work, right?
I hope so.
We've had bad days at work.
Absolutely.
So, like, something I was kind of talking out with my wife this week was toxic relationships at work, the professional setting where you've got that one person that no matter what, they challenge you. It might be, mentally at the task or project at hand or what. So kind of given that, how have you, like, if you can kind of give an example of somebody that's really grinded your gears at work and how you kind of work through that?
I've had very few people that have just been incredibly difficult to work with. And when you say toxic relationship, it makes me think that it's almost voluntary that you're staying in this kind of back and forth agreement that you're going to communicate, work together, and support the organization together. I'm in real estate now, so it's very independent. Sure. And while a lot of these rapports are challenging, you challenge people's intellect at times, you challenge whether or not they're part of the human race, but some of them can certainly cross your grain and make it difficult to be successful.
Yeah.
And for those individuals, especially in this kind of business, you just have to bend over backwards and be as nice as you can, because ultimately it's shaping your future and it's jeopardizing your earning potential. When I think back to the corporate roles that I had, there was probably 2 individuals that made it difficult for me to go into work on a regular basis. And ultimately we parted ways. We tried to work things out between ourselves. We got supervisors involved to help address the issues. And it never resolved in a way that I would think was amicable. But at least it resolved itself, and we were able to pursue and chase down the careers that we wanted to on an individual basis. So I think it really boils down to, is it worth the energy that you want to put into it, into having that toxic relationship? Or maybe you just both agree that this isn't working for us, but we have to work together, and we've both got individual goals that we want to pursue. So let's just focus on those. That's
really good. I know sometimes some people can make it difficult to even just show up and do the bare minimum of your job. And, I think all of us can put ourselves in that place one time or another. You talked about a shift in careers there. How has that affected your pursuit of happiness? Like, where you're trying to see yourself in the future, where you're happy, content.
I've never been one of these people to have a vision board or to develop a future state, a map of what it looks like for me in the future. Even though I've had the training to do it, I've got a wife who does it, who understands what it is and applies it. And even the kids understand that their actions and their energy are going to lead to something in the future. So with this change in my career, it's been very, very difficult on a personal level, on a family level. It's not only impacted us financially, it's impacted the way that we all treat one another, the way that we handle activities around the house. And I have had to take some time personally and do some soul searching and talk to several people to find out, am I making a mistake? Am I doing the right thing? Where should I be focusing my energy?
Yeah.
But really, it's all laid, a lot of that has laid within me without me realizing it or really wanting to take the the time to even explore that it's inside of me. And my wife said it best this most recent time. There was an opportunity sitting on the table to get a very nice job financially in North Carolina. And we had agreed that we would pursue it to the degree that we could. They made us an offer, and it was in my hands to decide whether or not I wanted the offer. And as I was talking with her, really the fear was in the decision. It wasn't in the outcome. It was in the actual decision-making process.
Yeah.
And once we let go of that, it felt like there was a blanket of peace around the two of us, and we understood that life is going to be okay, regardless of which way this outcome comes to fruition. And after that, having committed to real estate, now the question is, what do we want our future to be? Now that we've picked the path, what does that look like? And she is extremely supportive. There's still some questions about our future with regards to work, but at least we made the decision together, and we're comfortable with where we are right now in life, and we'll take on whatever challenge comes in front of us. We're quite capable. We're both smart. We're both intelligent individuals. It's just a matter of digesting what's in front of us and then talking about it and moving forward.
I say that'd been a big change to go over back to a corporate environment like that.
Yeah, and actually that was one of the negatives when we talked about the freedom associated with real estate versus the 9 to 5. I really didn't give that a whole lot of thought until I was outside the morning of the decision, and I found myself cutting grass, running an errand, putting a bench together, and had to be at the office at 11 o'clock to meet somebody. And I thought, there's no way I could do that in that corporate environment. I've got so much flexibility right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't that count? Doesn't that weigh into this decision? And sure enough, it did.
It does. I think sometimes we don't realize how much we're giving up to be locked into something like that.
But I've never known anything different.
So
it was so hard when it was presented to me, and I thought, this is too easy. This is too comfortable. And then when the opportunity presented itself to go back into a formal environment, I thought, wait a minute, I'm not sure I want this.
Yeah. But you've got a taste of freedom.
Yeah. I watched an 18-year-old go through the real estate class with me, and I thought to myself, if I could go back 30 years and not take on the debt of college, not go through that regimen and be stuck in a 9 to 5, what would my future look like?
Yeah.
And of course, nobody knows the answer to that. But as I was looking at the young man, I turned to him and I said, if you commit to this, if you really put some energy into this for the next year and a half, you're going to be so happy, and you're going to avoid so many pains in life. You're just going to be extremely successful and happy with the work regimen that you have.
Yeah. Well, it's neat you was able to share that point of view with. So, Shane, you've got a few children.
I do.
That is something that we share in common. We didn't go for the 2.5 children. We went for a little further because we like to live large. So how do you bond with your kids individually?
Well, I've already shared with you that I spent a lot of time with the boys.
Lecturing,
yes. That's right. No, I'm glad you said that. That way I didn't have to find something that was squeezed into a square peg that was squeezed into a round hole. Well, I spend time with them outside, at meals, and now that I'm in real estate, I can see them during the day as well. So doing some chores together as well, and then obviously family activities. But there is one thing that my daughter and I share that I might do with my youngest son, but not so much with my middle son, and that's watch movies together. And the reason that that's important and special to me is that she finds joy in everything. This is the one kid that I have that I wouldn't know if she had a gloomy day or not, because she just finds all the blue skies, sunshine, rays of light in everything that happens in her life. And sometimes I worry that she's going to be naive in situations in adulthood, But at the same time, I don't want her to lose that joy for life. So, again, it's just movie time together, but she really enjoys it. Now, something that my wife and I have committed to that has brought our family together is purchasing a pontoon boat. And all of us go out together on the lake. And our youngest one enjoys being on the raft. Our middle one enjoys swinging from the ropes in the trees. Yeah. And then our daughter enjoys just spending time together and talking.
Just enjoy those times. Take time for it. We get locked into easily in the hustle and bustle and forget about doing fun stuff like that. But then when you go out, you suddenly remember, this is fun. Why don't we do it more? Yeah. So, Shane, how long have we known each other?
I don't know, Jonathan. 10 plus?
I'd say so. The boys were when they started playing basketball.
That's right. That's right. You were the coach for Liam in basketball. I forgot all about that.
Yeah. And, the first time I looked at you, I was like, this dad's going to give me crap.
Did I?
No. I completely misjudged you.
I think I wrote you a thank you at one point.
I'm sure you did.
Because there was no way I would have been able to be out there and corralling all these little cats running around, and you took the time and the energy to do that.
Well, so to paint this picture properly, Jonathan's never played basketball. Jonathan's seen basketball in PE. I've been to a few games. Do I understand the rules? No. I know the ball goes in the hoop.
Well, you were fortunate. You were dealing with kids that might have understood that.
They might have understood that, and I was just really I was concerned. I'm like, oh man, they picked the most incompetent person to have here. And it really come down to, I wanted to spend time with Chase. Yeah. Chase wanted to be part of the team. And when I look back, I got to do that. I got to see him enjoy being with his friends. And, I got to know you through that. And, that kind of grew a relationship there. So, that's awesome.
I think that the best thing that you contributed to was just the joy, the happiness of them being able to spend time together. And your attitude made that difference. I don't think that skill, understanding the dynamics of the game, understanding the regulations, made a hill of bean difference. It was simply that you were happy for them, and they saw that, and they applied that as they were playing.
There was that. There was sometimes those mornings hard to get out of the car to go into the Y. It's like, oh gosh. But once out there, it was awesome. So we've known each other 10 plus. We'll say that. That's a good round number. What do you think it takes to be a good friend?
Probably judging is the first thing that comes to mind.
Being a good judge?
No, not judging at all. Certainly a dribble of humor. I think that's important. You and I think, both have a healthy sense of humor, and we are able to shut it off when it's not appropriate. Maybe one of us can.
Yeah, that's better.
But I think that's being open-minded, listening, a little bit of humor here and there, and then also active listening and being empathetic, showing compassion. I'll never forget the time that you found my watch for me, and I jumped into your arms just thrilled that you were able to do that for me. And I thought, boy, that was a little bit embarrassing. But at the same time, I was like, no, that was important to me, and I appreciate the energy that you put into that. And there's one other thing that always makes me laugh, makes me giggle, is when we do something together and I think it deserves some sort of payment and you ask for a high five. And every time it makes me smile.
Yeah, I'm not somebody that likes payment for helping people. I'm not down with that. That's why
you just haven't seen the bills being high enough. That's all it is.
Possibly, yes. Absolutely. So, you've been a good friend and I've shown some of my insecurities with before. And, Shane, I'm really worried about this. No, Jonathan. Or, I'm not good enough for this. Jonathan, you are too. And, you've really been there for me in that regard. So,
likewise.
Wow. Didn't even think about that one. Thank you. So, have you ever struggled with that motion, I'm not good enough?
Oh, yeah. And my wife and I were talking about that today. Yeah. She was cutting out a little arts and crafts project, and she was just enjoying her time, just having fun. And she looked up at me and she said, I remember a time where I just didn't feel like I was good at this. And she said it was related to her experience in work.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that trickled over from, I want to say it was 8 years past, and rolled over into a hobby that she enjoys doing in her spare time. And that experience at work jeopardized or had a negative impact, not just jeopardized, but it did. And she's now just at a point where she's feeling comfortable with herself and getting back to doing things that she once enjoyed.
Yeah.
And so that made me stop and think, has that impacted me? And sure enough, as soon as I was thinking about it, she asked the question, well, have you not been through that? And I said, oh, I most certainly have. I wasn't able to touch on how it impacted me outside of work, other than it was work. And boy, did I stop. And I thought to myself, work was all my life. That's what was important in my life.
Yeah.
And so when I went through a layoff, it made me realize there are other aspects of my life that are important. And here I've been focusing on this one big one.
Yeah.
So, but it was, I don't want to say it was refreshing, but it was heartening. It really was, touching to hear my wife share that experience with me, and then me being able to relate to what she's gone through, because we both went through it at right about the same time.
Yeah. That can be a struggle, dealing with, are we good enough? And I think that's good, having your spouse as a partner to be able to help support you and remind you of that, even having friends there to go, you are, quit beating yourself up. You'll get through this. I do think you're a very resilient person.
They do call me Iron Man.
Do they? Yeah. Who calls you that?
I'll find them. Someday
you'll find them? Okay. I'll update my contact in the phone, okay?
Actually, I think the nickname that I've been given is Mr. Magoo, and I'm not sure that's as flattering as Iron Man.
I don't think so. Where are those glasses?
It's the memory, not the glasses.
Oh, yeah. So I was reading about men becoming disconnected from their masculinity. I've got a little snippet here from the book. The author says he defines masculinity as the part of a man that equips him to survive as an individual, a clan, and a species. And he goes on to say, without this masculine energy, we would have all become extinct eons ago. Masculinity empowers a man to create and produce. It also empowers him to provide for and protect those that are important to him. These aspects of masculinity include strength, discipline, courage, passion, persistence, and integrity.
I like the word persistence in there. I'd also challenge that it includes solving problems.
Problem solving.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that too. Men love to problem solve.
Well, I don't think it's just the act of problem solving. It's the actual finality to putting a solution in place.
Yeah.
Oh, I know how to fix that. Mm-hmm. And then run off and go fix it without fully understanding what the problem is.
Yes. Don't need a manual. Just give me a hammer.
Exactly.
And, I think we also do that with relationships. We just want to fix it quickly.
Oh, yes.
We don't want to understand the problem.
I am so guilty of that.
I've struggled with that for years, and it's hard to take it back from 100 miles per hour down to 1 and okay, let me actually understand what's going on. So, but as I was reading that, I got thinking about how me knowing you, I've seen you demonstrate each one of those, and I just think you're a very good role model, and you're a real friend, and I appreciate taking the time to get to talk to you today.
Well, I certainly appreciate you thinking about me to have this conversation.
Shane, once again, I'd like to thank you for being here on Dads That Try.
Mr. Miller, thank you for inviting me. I wish you the greatest success in this adventure.
Well, thank you, sir. This has been Dads That Try. Feel free to give us a like, a share, heck, even give us a comment. Stay tuned in for the next episode of Dads That Try.